Hi Cambridge class, this is your final lesson on subordinating conjunctions this week. Your learning objective is to write sentences that contain subordinating conjunctions. This is your warm-up. Match the clauses to the correct ending using the conjunctions to support you. So read each clause and match it to the correct ending. Also think about, are they coordinating conjunctions or subordinating conjunctions? Pause the video while you match these. Okay, the disobedient boy returned to the toilet because they had forgotten their coats. It won't be that one because it's talking about one boy, so they doesn't make sense there. But she couldn't hear anything. Again, that doesn't make sense. We're talking about a boy. So he could work out what was wrong. That's possible. Before he had washed his hands. That's possible. And after checking the coast was clear. That's possible. So I'm not going to commit to that one yet. The children shivered in the wind because they had forgotten their coats. So it's they and it's the children, so that makes sense. Also, they've forgotten their coats, so they are shivering. The fox crept across the garden, but she couldn't hear anything, so he couldn't work out what was wrong before he'd washed his hands. Some of them don't make sense, but also it just says the fox, it doesn't say he or she. After checking the coast was clear, I'm going to match it to that one because foxes are quite sneaky and they like to be in quiet places. Heidi held the seashell to her ear. We're talking about she here, so these two won't make sense. So she's trying to listen for something, but she can't hear anything. The doctor examined the patient before he had washed his hands, so he could work out what was wrong. The disobedient boy returned to the toilet, so he could work out what was wrong before he'd washed his hands. The one that makes the most sense would be that the doctor had to work out what was wrong, because that's his job. And the disobedient boy returned to the toilet before he had washed his hands. Are they subordinating or coordinating? Well, because isn't in fanboys, so that's subordinating. But and so are in fanboys, so they are coordinating. Before and after are not in fanboys, so they are subordinating. Read each multi-clause sentence in the table and tick whether the clause underlined is the main clause or the subordinate clause. Pick one and convince me that you are correct. So, Tommy walked to the shop. After she finishes work, I like to eat pepperoni pizza if you finish your work. Are they main clauses, i.e. they make sense by themselves, or are they subordinate clauses, i.e. they don't make sense by themselves, they need to rely on the main clause, and do they start with a subordinating conjunction? Pause the video while you do this. Tommy walked to the shop. It makes sense by itself and it doesn't start with a subordinating conjunction, so it's a main clause. After she finishes work, that doesn't make sense by itself. After is a subordinating conjunction, so after she finishes work is a subordinate clause. I like to eat pepperoni pizza. That does make sense by itself and it doesn't start with a subordinating conjunction. If you finish your work, that doesn't make sense by itself, and if is a subordinating conjunction, so that is a subordinate clause. Well done if you got those right. Now we've got to underline the subordinate clause in red and circle the subordinating conjunction in blue. As a reminder, the subordinating conjunctions are up here, a white bus. Find a way at home of working out how you're going to identify the subordinate clause and how you're going to identify the subordinating conjunction. Perhaps you could write out the subordinate clause and circle the subordinating conjunction. If you want to go back to the white bus words, just rewind the video. Pause the video while you work these out. The bath flew up in the air because water gushed out of the window. Because is a subordinating conjunction, so I'm going to circle that one. Although the town was flooding rapidly, the rabbit sat and read his paper calmly. Although is the subordinating conjunction. When the pianist began to play, the shoppers ran towards the fountain to listen. When is the subordinating conjunction. The town will have to close if the water keeps gushing from all directions. If is the subordinating conjunction. And I know that a subordinating conjunction is the first word in a subordinate clause, which will help me with this next task. So, because water gushed out of the window is my subordinate clause. Although the town was flooding rapidly, when the pianist began to play, and if the water keeps gushing from all directions. Well done if you got those right. Now pick a subordinating conjunction from below to complete the multi-clause sentence below. Is there more than one you can choose? Which of these subordinating conjunctions best fits the gap? Pause the video while you do this. So blank, the pianist had finished playing, his piano was swept away in the gushing water. The one that I'm going to choose is when. When the pianist had finished playing, his piano was swept away in the gushing water. The waitress dropped the glasses of orange juice. Blank, she was serving the giraffe. The waitress dropped the glasses of orange juice. Blank, she was serving the giraffe. It could be while she was serving the giraffe. What else could it be? It could be after she was serving the giraffe. It could be as she was serving the giraffe. It could be when she was serving the giraffe. Blank, the flooding continues. The bakery will have to close for the day. It could be if the flooding continues. The bakery will have to close for the day. Waters downtown remained busy. Blank, it was filling with water quickly. Waters downtown remained busy. It could be as it was filling with water quickly. Or even though. I'm going to choose even though. Prefer that one. The alligator looked scared. Blank, he was being chased by rushing water. The alligator looked scared. It could be because he was being chased by rushing water. These aren't the only options, there are other options too. A coordinating conjunction must go in the middle of a sentence to separate the two main clauses. So but is your coordinating conjunction. At either side of that, there are two main clauses. They make sense by themselves. A subordinating conjunction can go in the middle of a sentence or at the beginning. You must use a comma when the subordinating conjunction goes at the beginning. The comma goes after the subordinate clause. Stephen joined the local football team because he wanted to get fitter. So here we've got the subordinating conjunction in the middle. We don't need a comma. If it's at the beginning, because he wanted to get fitter, comma, Stephen joined the local football team, we must have a comma at the end of the subordinate clause. Because Stephen wanted to get fitter, he joined the local football team. I've just swapped he and Stephen around because sometimes it's clearer if you put the name at the beginning. Let's look at another example. Sophie did the Joe Wicks workout before having her breakfast. So a subordinating conjunction can go in the middle, but it can also go at the beginning. Before having her breakfast, comma, Sophie did the Joe Wicks workout. So if you have before at the start of the sentence, your comma must go at the end of the subordinate clause. Look at these sentences from earlier. If the subordinating conjunction is in the middle of a sentence, like it is here, rewrite it so it is at the beginning. Remember to use the comma after the subordinate clause. If the subordinating conjunction is at the start, like it is here, rewrite it so it is in the middle and there's no comma needed. Pause the video while you do this. So for my first one, I need to rewrite it so that because is at the beginning. Because water gushed out of the window, comma, the bath flew up in the air. The bath flew up in the air is my main clause, because water gushed out of the window is my subordinate clause, because is my subordinating conjunction. I've used exactly the same words. Because water gushed out of the window, the bath flew up in the air. Although the town was flooding rapidly, the rabbit sat and read his paper calmly. I'm going to start with the. The rabbit sat and read his paper calmly, although, no comma, the town was flooding rapidly. Full stop. Make sure you've got all the right punctuation. Capital letter, comma, full stop in the first one. Capital letter, full stop in the second one. Now you have a go at these two. So again, if it's at the start, rewrite it so it's in the middle. And if it's in the middle, rewrite it so the conjunction is at the start. So you've got to move the sentence around so it still makes sense. Pause the video while you do this. So here, when is my subordinating conjunction? I've got to rewrite it so when is in the middle. I'm going to start with the shoppers. The shoppers ran towards the fountain to listen, no comma needed, when the pianist began to play. Full stop. So all I've got here is capital letter and a full stop. If is my subordinating conjunction. If the water keeps gushing from all directions, capital letter. If the water keeps gushing from all directions, comma, the town will have to close. Full stop. So here we need a capital I, a comma, and a full stop. We use exactly the same words both ways round. This is your last challenge. Find some sentences in your reading book that contain a subordinating conjunction. Reorder the sentences so that if the subordinating conjunction is in the middle, you move it to the beginning and remember your comma after the subordinate clause. If the subordinating conjunction is at the start of the sentence, you move it to the middle and there's no comma needed. Please email me the sentences that you have a go at. That's all for this week. See you later.